Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Write Your Own Story podcast. I am your host, Betsy Leonidas, and I am so thrilled to be here with Jennifer Loeb, the CEO of the Ronald McDonald House of Cincinnati.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I am like totally fangirling, honestly. I think, in my research, I have realized, first of all, I'm a little sweary on the show, so forgive me, how much of a total...
Don't apologize for that.
I love it. How much of a total badass you are, and what you have built and how what you do serves the community in such a meaningful way. So I've been looking forward to this all week.
Same.
Awesome. I love it.
I'm fangirling too. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So I am so glad you're here. I'm going to quickly grab my phone because I want to read your bio because Lord knows I can't memorize it because it is totally amazing. You guys get ready. Okay. So before we get started on Jennifer's bio, I always like to set an intention of every episode. And what I was mentioning is how much I appreciate your giving spirit. And I know that runs through you both professionally and just intrinsically as a person. And really our intention here is inspiring our listeners here for how to make a community impact or how to get involved and how to make impact in your community.
That'd be wonderful to talk about.
True.
I could talk about that all day.
I love it.
Fun.
I'm so here for it. Okay. So are we ready for this bio? You guys get excited. Jennifer Loeb has served as CEO of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Greater Cincinnati. Under her leadership, Cincinnati's house has grown from a small 20-bedroom house to the largest Ronald McDonald House in the world with 177 bedrooms and a successful $42 million capital campaign. I have to double check my numbers on that, but regardless, we're in lots of millions of dollars of capital campaign. Jennifer is a frequent local and national speaker on the topics of fundraising, culture, and not-for-profit management. She was nominated as the YWCA Career Woman of Achievement in 2020, one of Cincinnati's 40 under 40 by the Business Courier in 1999, and is a graduate of Leadership Cincinnati Class 30. Jennifer earned her bachelor's degree in English and journalism and theater from Miami University. What? Yes, yay, Miami. And a master's degree in journalism and health education from the Ohio State University. Cincinnati's Ronald McDonald House was a recipient of the Nonprofit of the Year Award from the Cincinnati, USA Regional Chamber and the Torch Award from the Better Business Bureau. Ronald McDonald House of Greater Cincinnati is regarded as a model in hospitality, employee engagement, and donor stewardship. Prior to her career, Jennifer worked in development and communications for a not-for-profit drug treatment program and a homeless shelter. I mean, my goodness, you are amazing.
Oh, I've been lucky to find a career that feeds my heart and my soul.
And I feel like I've learned both in my own journey and in so many conversations with, women on this couch and over Zoom that is the ticket to finding something that you do that truly fuels the soul. Yeah. So what a gift.
It is a gift. I don't think it's easy to do, like to find a job that you love so much that it never feels like work.
Oh, that's the ticket.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like for the first time, I mean, I've always loved what I've done, but this is the first time where I really feel like what I'm doing doesn't feel like work. It just feels like a gift to be able to wake up every day and do this kind of work.
Because it's authentic to you.
Yeah.
That's what speaks to you.
Truly.
You can tell.
Yeah. So let's start really quick with, I want to just dive into more of you and what that just makes me curious around authenticity. You started in the not-for-profit space and, in the Peace Corps and all these things so early. I did not know myself coming out of college. I thought I did, but what made you so drawn to this type of work and how did you know?
I don't know that I knew myself either coming out of college, for the record.
Good guess. No, just kidding.
But when I think about what feeds into the career I chose, so I think a big formative thing for me was my dad died when I was 5 and he was 34.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He was diabetic and he had a blood clot that just one night he and my mom were getting ready for bed and this blood clot broke loose and went to the base of his brain and he died instantly.
Oh my God.
And, I was only 5, so I don't have a lot of memories of him.
Yeah.
But through my mom and his friends, I know that he was such an amazing person. And he was a social worker, and he worked with kids with developmental challenges in their families.
Yeah.
And I'm not a social worker, but I feel like I have some of his social worker blood running through me.
You sure do.
And I feel like probably subconsciously I chose a career that I knew would make my dad proud.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't here. So I don't know.
I think that to me totally makes sense. Like it keeps you connected to him. Yeah. I think that's really special and beautiful.
Yeah. So after I graduated from Miami and then Ohio State for grad school,
yes,
I did a really quick career or job search, and nothing really spoke to me. And so my husband at the time and I joined the Peace Corps.
Oh, wow.
And we went to Morocco. We were on the edge of the Sahara Desert.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was interesting.
From Columbus to the Sahara Desert. Yeah.
And we were taught the wrong language.
Oh my gosh.
We got intestinal parasites and got super sick. We actually got sent home early because we were so sick.
Oh my gosh.
So it was not quite the experience I expected, but I think it just cemented for me the desire to have a career that helps others.
Yeah.
Because, we were living in this really poor village where people had nothing.
Yeah.
And I was doing maternal and child health work, and which really was about nutrition for people who couldn't afford food.
Wow.
And family planning for women who didn't want family planning.
Yeah.
So, but I just saw how much they appreciated someone being there and trying to make a difference. And so when I got back from the Peace Corps and started a job search, that's when I worked at Welcome House, which is the homeless shelter in Northern Kentucky, and then First Step Home, which was the drug treatment program.
Wow. So what kind of roles, coming from a journalism background? And also I've talked to so many women, like, not saying that there needs to be a connection or a parallel, but like what kind of roles did you have at those places? Actually, not even related to your journalism background. I'm more curious about like what helped you along those positions tee you up to be in the role that you are today.
So at Welcome House, I was doing grant writing.
Oh, yeah.
That came easily with the journalism background.
Totally.
But it wasn't as frontline enough for me. At First Step Home, I lucked into this opportunity with a boss who just said, tell me what you're good at and let's build a job around it.
God.
Her name's Annie Bennett. I love her. We're going on a trip together later this year. We're still good friends.
I love that.
She was wonderful, but she said, I need someone to do fundraising. What else do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I've got a journalism background. She's like, great. We need someone to do our marketing. What else do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I have a health ed background. She's like, great. You can run health groups for the clients. And I also need you to do HR. And I'm like, I don't know anything about HR.
Same.
And she's like, you'll figure it out.
Yep.
So suddenly I was in charge of HR too, which was interesting. And I was like, I don't know, 24. But that experience and Annie's trust and mentorship really helped me just to learn so many things that prepared me for the job I'm in now. I could have never done this job without everything Annie let me do and learn along the way.
Oh gosh, isn't that such a great lesson for anyone who is in some sort of leadership or mentorship type role to, and especially in some of the larger organizations, we get so caught up in performance, both individual for the sake of growth or team performance relative to revenue and bottom line, et cetera. But God, at the end of the day, if you can ask someone, what are you great at, and leverage those skills and then continue to support them into other areas, and just how full circle that went, because I'm sure you were so driven and amazing at those things that then teed you up for this. But like, that is the way to lead.
It is. And it's about starting with trust
and
a belief in someone instead of, it's a different way to think about it. If you think, oh, I wonder if they might be able to do this, they might fail. Like Annie was like, I know you can do this. I'm going to watch you grow and watch you shine. And that just empowers you to do your best work. When people believe you can.
God, 1,000,000%. I mean, if that's not the line of the show, there it is. It's just like, you have to believe in yourself and you have to have people believe in you. But and how old were you roughly?
I had like 24, I think, when I started there. Yeah.
And I just remember all of my roles at 24. And, I'm like working at big ad agencies in New York. And it was basically like, prove that, yes, you got this job, but prove that you're still worthy to be here. Like, I could take this. My first job, my boss literally said to me, and this is a direct quote, so I will swear, so excuse me, but he said, I have 40 resumes on my desk that are dying to replace you. So don't fuck this up. And I was like,
wow.
Okie doke.
Okay.
So, right. So I worked from a state of fear for, I don't know, my entire life. But I'm so happy to hear that one, you had a boss and a mentor, that set that culture for you. And I assume set that standard that moving forward, any environment that you're going to work in, you're like, this is how I flourish. This is how I make impact.
Yeah. And now that I talked to you about it, I realize I hadn't made this connection before, but that was my first experience to building a culture on a team. And it was just a really unique atmosphere. Like, we had a cat that wandered around and was on my desk when I wrote grants, and like, a lot of the staff were in recovery. And when I started doing the health group with the clients, they said, "Are you in recovery? Are you an addict?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not." And they're like, "Well, why are you here? Like, what do you have to tell us if you're not an addict?" And I'm like, so it was
that I care.
But I don't know. It showed me the foundations of like communicating and being honest with people and vulnerable with people, and seeing what a team responds to and how to help people feel appreciated.
Gosh, I mean, just like really, truly stripping it down to like the human nature of all of us in order to collectively do something great and impactful. Like, it's easier said than done, but truly that is like, would be the greatest blessing of a culture to work in. And it sounds like, we're sort of jumping around here, and I wanted to like do the sequential order, but I'm like too excited. I'm like, we're just going to dive right in. So at the Ronald McDonald House in Cincinnati, I know that culture is something that you absolutely pride yourself on, that it is, you have like insanely low turnover rate, your volunteer, it's hard to find opportunities for full-time volunteer roles because people want to stay. Do you feel like those are the lessons that have carried over to build the culture there as well?
Yes, in part. And then we keep learning as we go. And, you're always taking bits and pieces from things you learn from others, whether it's friends or a podcast or, but one of the big things about the house is, people assume because we care for families with kids who are critically ill, that it's a sad place or that it's, really difficult. And it is. Like, some days are really difficult because you see a lot of suffering and, grieving and parents going through a lot. But I will say that it's overall such a happy, hopeful house. And these kids, as sick as they are, most of them get better and they go home, and they're so grateful to be there. And it's such a respite from the hospital because they can just be kids and they can play and meet other kids. And we have all these common areas where they can just, unwind from the hospital and live their lives. And so going back to, you hear these little snippets and you're like, oh, that's exactly it. I heard once on a podcast that a guy said, joy is the oxygen for doing hard things in this world.
Wow. Oh, I have full body goosebumps.
And our culture, it really centers around joy, not sadness. It's the total opposite. It's joy of being able to be together as a family when you really need that.
Yes.
When you're all struggling and things feel really difficult, to be able to be together to start with, and then having this community surround you with love and support to where you realize you can do hard things. You can go back to the hospital every day and fight that fight for your child. But our culture is so much centered around joy and celebration and milestones for these kids. And
God, I'm not going to cry. I might, but that is like, it makes me just want to go down there and just observe and contribute and like be a part of it. How inspiring. And, for anyone that has someone with special needs in their life or any, to see them in community, and for anyone, truly, that is the impetus of this podcast, is like to know that you are not alone with what you are struggling with, or for, anything. It translates to what you're doing in the house as well. Is like, everyone is in this sort of same boat, and they're not alone in their worry.
And anyone can make a difference. Like any bit of kindness resonates with people and is appreciated by people.
Yes. Oh, we were talking off camera. I loved this example about the interview with Hillary, and that the dropping of the muffin off, and like the
just
muffin,
that one little thing, and it turns your day around.
Totally. Yeah. Right. So for anyone who might have missed that episode, Hillary Widener has a, sort of a long-term care child, and her daughter needed a liver transplant. And so during the height of the critical illness, people would just do the smallest, kindest gestures of just dropping when you don't know what to do or how to help, just do something little. And someone would drop off a muffin and coffee. And she was like, that literally made my day because, you know, she didn't have the energy or the bandwidth to have conversation with people. She's just trying to hold on.
Yeah.
But for someone to just care for her just a little bit, it just, to your point, it changes the whole day.
You made me think of this memory. We have the kindest volunteers. They're just wonderful people. But you made me think of once one of our volunteers, Mary, was talking to this mom and her kid, and she'd had a long day at the hospital and she was exhausted, and her kid was chewing on a celery stick and dropped it on the floor. And like in a second, Mary turned around, went to the fridge, found a new one and brought it to the kid. And it's such a little thing. Yeah. Like it's a celery stick.
Right.
But that mom was so tired and she just knew like this mom doesn't want to get up and deal with one more thing today. And so she just took that little tiny thing off her plate. And once you have like 5, 10, 15 of those in a day, it just adds up and makes you feel completely different about the world and your situation.
Yes. And it is, you know, it, to your point, like it infuses you with that little like moments of hope and joy that like, you know, those don't have to be those giant, like laugh out loud moments. Joy and hope comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Yeah. They come in celery.
Yeah. Just realizing someone cares about you.
Totally. Yeah. Gosh, which is like truly, you know, at the end of the day, what all of us need, want, and deserve.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's take a step back for a sec and let's talk about sort of the structure of Ronald McDonald House. And I know that there is sort of a national level. Can you just walk us through so everyone can understand the difference between what's going on in Cincinnati and how it fits into the broader picture?
So Ronald McDonald House started in Philadelphia in 1974. It was the first house. And it was started by a football player for the Philadelphia Eagles. His name is Fred Hill and his wife is Fran. And they had a daughter, Kim, who had cancer. And they were spending long, long days and nights in the hospital supporting their daughter and thought there's got to be a better way to care for people than letting them sleep in a lobby and eat out of vending machines and with no end in sight. And so they teamed up with her oncologist, Dr. Audrey Evans, and they did a fundraiser. Audrey had the idea, like, we need a house for families. We need a place where they can live, where they can actually settle and be cared for while they're going through all this at the hospital. And so the Eagles approached McDonald's about doing a fundraiser and they sold Shamrock Shakes. And this went to the fundraiser, you know, to help start the original house. And then the concept caught on and they started popping up all over the world. Now there's 390 houses around the world. So pretty much any city with a pediatric hospital will have a Ronald McDonald House nearby to support those families. About 200 of the houses are in the US and the rest are international.
Wow. I truly, this is all breaking news to me. So I didn't realize that it was on an international level as well. That's amazing.
All over the world. And there's other programs too, like there's Ronald McDonald Family Rooms and Care Mobiles and special programs in different countries. So the charity is bigger than just the house.
Yeah.
But here in Cincinnati, we're focused on one large house. We have, we're the second largest in the world and we have 177 bedrooms. Wow. And we're full every night with a wait list. So that means we have about 500 people a day living in our community.
Yeah. What is the average sort of stay for families?
Average is about a month.
Yeah.
And just think about that, like being away from home for a month, all the expenses. Most of us could never afford a hotel for a month and all the meals and transportation and everything. Plus all of your expenses at home continue.
Yes.
Still paying your rent or mortgage. You're still paying everything you had before, but you're relocated, scared to death in a new city. But our maximum stay is 2 years. And we do have some families who hit 2 years.
Yeah.
So just think about that, being away from home that long and your child in the hospital for 2 years.
I can't. I had one in there for a month and it was just life-changing, truly. But it's interesting that you say that because what I remember from the hospital, yes, of course I do remember all the scary moments, but what I remember is people helping. Truly. That's what full stop. That is what I remember. And if I really sit and think about how sick she was, then yes, of course I remember the other stuff, but all I remember is people taking care of my kid, taking care of me, taking care of her dad. And I don't know, those are the things that you don't forget and truly fuel your soul to then turn around and help others.
Look for the helpers.
Yes.
They're always there.
They're always there. I love that saying too. Look for the helpers. Okay. So with Ronald McDonald House, is this largely in part still sponsored by Ronald McDonald? How does that sort of company organization
So we have a headquarters in Chicago that's on McDonald's campus.
Oh,
and
cool.
We have a global team that works to support all the chapters around the world. An amazing team. And then each house is independent, basically. So we have our own local board of directors.
Yeah.
We do our own fundraising, set our own goals. So we have kind of the infrastructure in place from global, but everything else is local.
Yeah. You operate completely independently. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is so fascinating. So truly, you know, from a business perspective, is it like, you know, when I think about the fundraising that I've been a part of, like, do you start every year essentially at zero because you've covered all of the expenses of these 177, is that right, beds? And then it's like, okay, you have to keep sort of like that operating budget of just covering the expenses plus keeping your lights on, plus keeping your staff paid. Like,
our operating budget is about 10.5 million a year.
Oh dear.
And we're raising all of that. We're not a United Way organization. We don't get any city, state, or federal funding other than Medicaid reimbursement for families who qualify. And you know, when I was working in drug treatment, we were about 80% governmental and grant funded. And actually, I think what we have here is a much more stable structure because we rely on individual donors and corporate and foundation too.
Yes.
But, you know, if you have a big federal grant that dries up and goes away, suddenly that program isn't viable anymore. And, you know, you're left with closing it down or laying off people, but we don't have that. We just keep building the relationships with the donors who care so much about our mission. And we just have incredible people who, you know, a lot of them either like yourself, either had a sick child and they know how hard that is. And they have empathy for people who are in the same boat, or they have healthy kids and they're so grateful for that, or they don't have any kids at all and they just want to do something to care for other kids and their parents. So we just have wonderful people who support us year in and year out.
And we were talking about this a little bit off camera too. Cincinnati just has sort of this magical community where there's so many helpers here and there's so much connection here. People are so deeply connected. You can't help. I mean, like, you run into Cincinnatians in other states and other countries. Like, it's unbelievable.
It is such a generous city.
It is so generous.
And just, I mean, you know, what goes on at the house every day is just magical. And that wouldn't happen without the people.
Yeah.
Like, that is the staff, the volunteers, the board, the donors. We just attract so many unique and special people, and it's part of Cincinnati. You're right. It's part of the what makes Cincinnati such an amazing place to live.
It is truly.
And having the top pediatric hospital in the country.
Yes.
Here in Cincinnati.
That was the other thing that I was going to tap into. So, like, what is sort of from an operational perspective, the relationship with Cincinnati Children's?
So I'm glad you asked that because there's a lot of misconceptions. Some people think we're part of the hospital. We're just like a department or an arm of the hospital, or they think we're part of McDonald's and McDonald's fully funds us.
Yes.
And so McDonald's is, you know, a founding mission partner, and they've been supportive since the very beginning. But McDonald's and their customers are just a small part of our budget, and same with the hospital. They're both generous and supportive, but it takes the whole community to keep our doors open and keep us caring for families.
1,000%. Yes.
So our relationship with the hospital is, obviously, we're here to serve them and their families and care for them while they're in town. And it makes the experience so different for families when they have a place to land.
Yeah.
And when they can get a good night's rest and kind of recharge so they can, you know, so that parents can be there to be their best selves and care for kids every day. Yes. You really need to recharge your own batteries at night. And then it's also a milestone for the kids to look forward to too, because we have a lot of patients who live with us. And so once a child is, like, sometimes they're just outpatient to begin with, but sometimes they're really sick and they're in ICU, and then they step down to another unit, and then we become the next step down where they're well enough to come live with us, but they have to go to outpatient treatment until they're well enough to go home. Yeah. So it really helps the hospital in that they can free up that inpatient bed and the kids can come live across the street with us. Yes. And continue their treatment until they're ready to go home.
I think about that all the time. Like, so we lived in the hospital, slept in the hospital for, you know, almost a month. And my son was home and we had family come in town. And then she was in the high risk clinic for 2 years. And so, but it's in my backyard. Yeah. So if the gratitude just to be in that type of scenario never leaves me.
Yeah.
But to be, you know, think about those families that, like you're saying, that have just graduated, and what a milestone. And to have like their own space that, like we were talking about nesting before, like you can kind of like nest in your own little environment and make it yours. And
yeah,
that is so important. Like you're saying, it is so important for like the outcome of that child, truly, because it is such this, you know, a broader picture of healthy, rested parents in community with moments of joy and support.
Yes.
All of that absolutely greatly affects the outcome of these children.
I was mentioning before we started today that we had our gala last weekend, and we showed a video of some families. And at the very end, there's this little girl living at the house. She's the cutest thing. She's, you know, going through a ton of treatment for cancer. She's going through a lot, but she was bouncing around. And her quote was, she said, I couldn't wait to get over here from the hospital because the hospital is boring. She goes, but over here I can play games and play with my friends and go outside and do this and do that. And she was just overjoyed to get across the street to the house so she could have fun and be a kid again. And so, yeah, it's really amazing every day to watch how resilient kids are and how much they appreciate being able to connect with other kids going through the same thing. Because at home, like, you know, in their school or their classroom, they might be the only kid going through that.
Yeah.
But at our house, parents meet other parents whose kids have the same condition or the same doctor. Kids it feels so much more normal at our house because everyone's sick and everyone's going through something. And the kids and the parents form these lifelong bonds and friendships. And it's so much easier to keep in touch these days with social media. And, you know, they meet people at the house that they become lifelong friends with. So it's amazing to watch that to develop too.
I mean, that is literally like, it's unbelievable. Like, I just am going to say it over and over, the impact. It is like not just a safe place for families to land and logistically make things easier, like lifelong connections, patient outcome. Like, I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yes. It changes your life. You know, the people you meet here and the generosity and the kindness you experience, I think stays with you long after you've gone back home.
Yeah, 1,000%. So from one last operating question, maybe I can't help myself. I'm such a nerd. But in terms of like staff versus volunteer roles, do you rely in terms of how much is sort of paid positions versus how much do you rely on community support in terms of like, you know, boots on the ground?
So we are, you know, we're open 24/7, 365. So we have about 72 staff total. And a lot of those are part-time, but that includes, you know, a full culinary team. We have chefs on staff. We have a big housekeeping team to keep the house clean and sparkling. And, but then we have hundreds of regular volunteers who come to the house and thousands of people a year who make meals and do activities at the house.
Yes.
And there's so many opportunities to plug in and get involved, but that is really where the community shines and steps in and says, let us make you a meal. Let us bring a craft for you to do. We have this sweet couple who comes in a couple nights a month and they just bake a bunch of desserts, put them out on the counter for people. Like, you know, you can find something that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
And even if you don't come to the house, like you can do a wish list drive. Like we feed families 2 meals a day, every day. Like,
wow.
Delicious, very nutritious home cooked meals from our culinary team. It's called Taste of Hope. You can find it on our website, but groups come in and they kind of get a cooking lesson and prepare a meal and serve the families. And then they eat together and clean up.
Yes.
And so it really allows you to see the house firsthand and see families as they go through the line. So that's a really wonderful thing. But then, you know, we go through like tons of snacks, like people can grab and go to take some snacks to the hospital. We're all about saving families money. Like we save families millions of dollars a year that they don't have to spend on food and transportation. So if you can grab a granola bar and, you know, pretzels or whatever and stick them in your bag and head off to the hospital, then you don't have to go buy that, you know, at the cafeteria at the hospital.
Yeah.
And so there's just lots of ways that people, even if they can't come to the house or they're uncomfortable, some people, you know, it's too sad for them to be around sick kids. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But there are things you can do from home. Like we have a wish list on our website. You can make milestone cards to celebrate kids who are, you know, cancer free or get their trach out, or there's ways that you can do things for the families, even off site.
And I mean, gosh, there's a million ways to do things as a family. Like I could see myself and the kids sitting down, making those cards, or like how many times have I been like, I bought these snacks for the kids and they're just like not eating this kind. Like, if that's available to bring down. I have actually done where I've gotten trained and with an organization and come and served and cleaned. And I think that night there was a magician there for the kids, and like it is such a formative experience. It's really amazing to be involved, and it just gives such perspective, and it really, fills the cup, and it was really, really wonderful.
It does give huge perspective. Like I've been there 25 years now, and every single day I think, how fortunate am I that I'm on this side of the equation? And, it just every day you realize how lucky and grateful you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truly. And I mean, you absolutely know firsthand, life can change in an instant. And so that's kind of like when I think about, you've sat there for 25 years, what keeps you coming back for more?
I think overall, I cannot imagine a more fulfilling job. Like I really have the best job in the world.
You really do.
I really do. Like I can't imagine being this happy anywhere else. But beyond that, it's of course the mission, like who couldn't feel great about that mission and taking care of people when they really need it. But it's also the people. So you meet families from all around the country and around the world, but then our team is just such a special group of people, our staff and volunteers and our board. And I realized somewhere along the way, I realized, oh, no wonder I'm so happy, because I got to play a role in picking all the people I work with.
I was just going to say
my bosses and the rest of the team. So it's no wonder that, I adore everyone I work with, because I got to have a part in that. And that's probably part of my long-term satisfaction too, is we have a great board who does not get in the weeds and does not micromanage, and they just trust us to run the house. And they're very much a fundraising, policy-making board. And they always say, how can I help? What do you need? What can I do to support the mission? And a lot of that is introductions and bringing new people in who can see the house in action and hopefully want to be a part of it. But to have that trust and be able to just run with things and create the culture and the environment that is right for families and the team, that's kept me long term.
I can only imagine. And I definitely I hope you pause and give yourself credit. Yes, of course, you surrounded yourself with people that you love, but that is such strategic mission and such great leadership to be able to bring on such talented, caring, driven people to be able to carry out such incredible results. It's not like, oh, these are just lovely people and I'm so glad we get to serve the community. We could stop the sentence there and it would still be amazing. Right. But it's like, oh, actually, we're the second biggest in the whole entire world. And that is such a byproduct of leadership, both at your level and those that you've supported, throughout the organization. How do you, in such a I know just from being a patient and a parent that there's so much that is so heavy. How do you build a culture both internally within your organization and for these families that is around joy? That to me is easier said than done.
Yeah. A lot of what we focus on is, some people might have heard this term, trauma-informed care. And this was new to me several years ago. We have someone on our team, Sarah, who is certified in trauma-informed care and training others.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing concept, because it doesn't just apply to a Ronald McDonald House or somewhere, where people are struggling. It really applies to anything in your life.
Yes. So
the whole concept of trauma-informed care is you look at people, and instead of thinking what's wrong with you, you think what happened to you. So let's just say, I don't know, you're at the grocery and someone's acting a fool and yelling at a cashier and being awful.
Yeah.
My first thought would be, what is wrong with that person? Why are they acting like this? This is awful. But then if you shift it and you think, what happened to that person? So why are there's a reason they're behaving that way.
Yes. Truly.
There's something behind it. There's we all have trauma we carry with us, whether it's, acute or chronic. In our families, it's definitely both. But, so that at the house, when we look at that in the context of Ronald McDonald House, our families are going through so much, and it's, a heavy load every single day. And for our team to understand that and adjust our behavior and, even meal groups, like we give them a really quick training on it when they get there.
Yeah.
But it's things like not asking a family, like, oh, what's your kid for? Or what's your kid here for?
Right.
What's, happened today at the hospital?
Yeah.
Because you're just opening up wounds that they may not want to talk about.
Yes.
And it's, you don't say, oh, can I take a picture with your kid? Because maybe they don't want that.
Right.
So you really let the family lead what they're willing to share. And even things like, we talk about as a team, like if you walk in with your coffee and, you've just had a shower and you're ready to start your day and you've got your coffee, and a mom comes out and she's been up all night with her child who's throwing up or worse and sees you, like, there's just that moment, I think, for parents living with us where they're like, oh, I wish that was my life right now.
Yeah.
I wish I had a hot coffee in my hand and I was, just going to work.
Yep.
So it's just being aware of all those big and little things and how they're interpreted by families and how things come across.
Yeah. God, it's so true. And that, I think that has to translate both from like, how do you show up every day at work and serve these families? And then how do you show up every day and operate this business or this fund or, whatever we want to call it. But I don't know, because I think those are two really different mindsets. It feels a little bit more like common nature to be so kind and empathetic when you're in front of a family. But then when you're sitting back at your desk and you are working hard on raising funds and things like that, like just to have that same mindset translate versus just being so performance based to be like, no, we've got to crush last year's goal and we're still going to hold our spot. And like all these things, it truly just, it sounds like the way that you've built the culture and then your team has built the culture as well is to just truly focus on the small moments, because those like similar to your story around small moments of joy or small moments of hope, those all add up to this like massive collective greater good.
Yeah. And it all really ties in. So when you think of, like guest satisfaction, fundraising, culture, and team.
Yeah.
Like it really starts with hiring the right people, rewarding them well. Like we pay attention to comp studies and, we pay people fairly and well. We have good benefits. We just approved a sabbatical leave because we know there's compassion fatigue and it really adds up. And we've got great benefits, for families. And so if you attract the right people, you let them do their best work and get out of the way. Let them shine and, learn and grow at the house.
Yeah.
And that translates into them feeling great about the work they're doing and taking the best possible care they can of our families.
Yes.
And that's the high guest satisfaction rates. And then our donors notice, oh, you've got really great people who've been there for a long time. The families are really happy. Maybe I'd like to be a part of this. Tell me more about what you're doing. And so that ties into the fundraising. And we believe very much in knowing and recognizing people as individuals. And I think to me, that's a big part of building culture is to have like a genuine, authentic interest in everyone you work with and their lives outside of work and who they are as people. And that's how we feel about our donors too. It's not just, oh, these are great people who give us money. That's awesome. It's who are these people? What's their motivation to give? How can we appropriately show our thanks? And so it's a lot of personal touches every day with the team, the donors, and the families, because you can't really know each other unless you take the time to like be present and ask the questions and get to know people. And then they know you care about them and they feel even more engaged and grateful to be there.
Gosh, I mean, that is just, I think about all the things that you touch and manage at a broader scale. And then to be able to get down to that like very personal level and realize that that's truly what unlocks so much of the magic in like such a multifaceted way. And I love that those on staff are, have great benefits, are, comped appropriately. Like, I think this, I'm just going to say it's like maybe a misunderstanding or stereotype is that if you work in nonprofit, like your heart is full, but your wallet is empty.
Right.
But I mean, gosh, if you have this amazing talent, you want to retain them. And that goes to your point of like, yes, of course, compensate them appropriately, take care of them benefit wise and sabbatical wise, but then also understanding who they are as a human and, you know, celebrating them both on the donor and the personal side as humans. I think that, I mean, how do you do all that? I'm like, I just see you like, you know, I can imagine you getting to know these donors and I'm sure you have so many different donors and to be like, yeah, no, I know that their granddaughter's name is Elizabeth. And it's like, oh my God, I can't remember yesterday.
It's, you know, I think it feels easy because I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's who I am outside of work too.
Yeah.
It's like who I am with friends. Like, you know, I want to know everything going on in my friends' lives. I want to do little things to make them know that I am remembering them, you know, and it just translates easily.
Yeah.
If that's how you feel about life in general, is knowing people and being curious like you are, asking all the questions, getting to know them. And then it's one of my favorite things to do is to like hear somebody just mention something really small and in passing. Like here's an example. I was having coffee with a friend recently and her mom had died in the past year and she was struggling and having a really hard time. And she said, yeah, I find myself wearing yellow because it was my mom's favorite color and it makes me happy. Nice. And so something clicked in my brain, like I need to send her something yellow.
Yeah.
Like I need to send her a note with some little thing that's yellow, just to acknowledge that we had that moment and I heard her. And it's not about me like, oh, I'm doing all these special things. It's just like, it makes me happy to do something that touches someone else. Because I know it makes them happy and I feed off of that. And so that translates so well to what we do. And then that's the mindset of our team. Like, what can we do above and beyond to help this person have a better day and see that they're seen and noticed.
Oh gosh. Isn't that also what everyone just wants, needs, and deserves? And, you know, it goes back to what we were talking about at the top of the conversation of like, this is truly like an authentic extension of who you are. And, you know, there's so much around like, I don't know, when I think about when I was in corporate, it's like, you know, you're, especially as women, it's like, it is so separate. No one can know at work that you're a mom. I mean, they can know, but you got to act like you don't have kids.
Don't talk about it.
Right. Don't talk about it. And then, or if you're at home, work cannot come home, et cetera, et cetera. But like when you are doing something professionally that is so in line with who you are, do you feel like it just kind of all melds together?
Yes. And when you work with families, it's totally natural to talk about your own.
Yeah.
Like staff, our team talks about families all the time. We have like a celebration wall in our hallway where we just hang things. And it's like, show us pictures of your family.
Awesome.
Show us your kids. What are you guys doing? Like, what do you like to do? And you know, we just want to know each other on that level.
That truly like, I mean, that makes going to work every day like you're going to hang out with your friends.
Yes.
Which that is the dream.
That's the secret.
Okay.
It does feel that way, but
everyone listening, don't tell. Yeah. But I mean, what a dream team to be like, I picked all my besties and now we're at work and we're doing these amazing things. And then I'm going to go home and call them because I miss them.
Exactly.
Totally.
We do text each other at night.
Yes. And, send you a million funny things from the internet.
Exactly.
Oh, that's really. As you may know, Cincinnati Children's Hospital is near and dear to my heart. If you don't, check out the episode, A Story of Miracles, to be inspired. Not only did they save my daughter's life, but they've saved countless lives each and every day through their exceptional care, tireless research, and so much more. I wanted to find a creative way to not only support women, but to give back to the hospital I hold so dear. And I think I've come up with something really fun and exciting. Okay, I'm just going to shoot you straight here. One of the ways for a podcast to make money is for people to subscribe, aka contribute money to support the show. As exciting as a new way to make money is for me, I wanted to turn this into an opportunity for others. So if you choose to subscribe for as little as $3 a month, where you can cancel at any time, you can submit a friend or a women-owned business to get a special shout out on the podcast. And half of your subscription money will go directly to Cincinnati Children's, supporting their needs in life-saving research and care. This feels amazing to me because everybody wins. Your bestie, your business, the hospital, and the show are all being supported through this effort. Click the support our show link in the show notes today to not only get a shout out, but to support the #1 pediatric hospital in the world. Okay. So, but knowing that there are parts of your day when you walk through the hall and you see people in struggle, and I know it fills you to know that you are making such a difference, but how do you sort of emotionally separate when you do come home and do you turn off the email? Like, how do you protect you outside of work?
I mean, I think that's a good goal, is to try to turn off email and just
I don't know
separate.
if you
and you know, like, you can't always, and it's just part of it.
Yeah.
I hope most of our team can. I don't feel like I can, but it's okay, because I enjoy it so much. It never feels ever like a burden. It's just, I want to be connected.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, it's interesting when you're around sick kids all the time, it kind of becomes your new normal.
Yeah.
And so where for some people that might feel really hard or shocking or difficult, like, we're just so used to it because you see it all the time. And I was having a conversation with my sister the other day because my stepdad died about a year ago, and it's been really hard for the family.
Yeah.
And I had a really, really good friend who was my college professor in Miami, who I kind of took care of in his later years. And he died a few years ago. But it was comfortable for me to be with my friend Hugh when he died.
Yeah.
It didn't make me sad. Like, I felt grateful and lucky to be there.
Yeah.
And I was telling my sister how I felt like it was easier for me to deal with death because I'm around it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm around people who are really sick.
Yes.
And it just, not that any of it's okay, but you just get used to it. It's kind of like a new normal. And then it's not as sad anymore. It's what you expect.
Yeah.
And it's happy when these kids get better and go home.
Yeah.
But the team kind of all comes at it the same way and is used to it in the same way.
Yeah. And it sounds like, you know, you guys kind of probably all take care of each other in processing and sort of getting used to it all in the same way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that does sound like a challenge, but I do also know what it's like, you know, for it to become sort of normalized, whatever anyone's hardship or challenge in any type of scenario. If we really think about it from a broader perspective, you can all feel like a certain example in your own life of where you're like, oh yeah, I sort of adapted and just kind of accepted this, and life is still great around it. Yeah. And there's still so much joy.
And I think too, it's about, giving people resources or asking for the resources you need. So like if we have a really hard day or something happens with the family and it's really tough for the team, we'll like ask some of the chaplains from Children's to come over and just sit and be with us and process and talk about things. We do that sometimes, but then for each of us individually to just take care of yourself and do things that help preserve the energy you've left. Yes. Like sometimes I come home from work and I'm like, I can't do anything until I have a 20-minute nap. I just can't. That's amazing. Even like, I'm like, kids, leave me alone. Yep. 20 minutes. Half an hour. I'll be out. But like, absolutely. Or, you know, I heard something once, the secret to a happy life is continuous small treats, which I loved. But
that is the permission I need.
About sometimes like, you know, what's something that would make you happy right now? Do you want sushi? Do you want to sit and read a book? Do you want to just go sit outside and do nothing for a minute? Like, just little things that help you recharge throughout the day. Yes. I think are really important.
That was a big learning curve for me, was to learn that recharge was not like, you know, cause I was such like, you know, like you work so hard and then you work harder and that's how you make things happen. And then like you have kids and you give your everything and it just constantly was like pushing. And then I would like sort of collapse and then be like, I have to recharge in this major way. And it has been such a newly learned skill to find that and to see the actual results of recharging in 10-minute moments. Yeah. Like that's a real thing. Breaking news to me, but I didn't realize that like you truly can recharge in 10 minutes of sitting outside or, you know, throwing on an episode of Friends or whatever. That's my current recharge. Yeah. I like, oh my God, there's 10 seasons. I can't stop, won't stop. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that was breaking news.
It's a good thing to learn that a recharge doesn't have to be a vacation.
Right. Because then you're like,
in 15, 20 minutes,
I can't be happy until or I can't feel relaxed, or I can't do anything until I go on that vacation. Yeah. It's like, actually you can, you totally can.
I have this routine. I have 2 obnoxious dogs and they're up every day of the week.
Oh, you really are a dog person. Okay, good.
I'm really not a dog person, but I'm a cat person, but I have 2 dogs and they're up every day at 6 and they want to walk.
They want to walk, not just breakfast.
Love it. Oh no, they want like a 45-minute walk.
Oh my God.
But I love that time.
Yeah.
It's when I think the clearest.
Yeah. Yes.
And I kind of, it just kind of eases me into the day and I get the exercise out of the way. Yes. But I do my best thinking. I've started using the notes thing on my phone and just dictating thoughts into my phone because it's when I'm like really thinking clearly.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're like in the dark, in the cold with 2 dogs and a cup of coffee and you're dictating notes. You're like changing the world one dictated note at a time. That's amazing. I'm
like sorting myself out one dictated note at a time.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my, my best friend and I always joke, like, heaven forbid I die, you need to run to my phone and delete my notes.
It's funny. You know how on Facebook you can have a legacy where if you die, someone can manage your Facebook.
Oh my God.
I thought I was doing that for my sister, but I gave her my Apple ID legacy. So now she can get everything on my phone. So I think of that sometimes. I'm like, I hope I don't die because I need to clean up all this stuff.
You have to have it. You have to have the one person that you're like, I know you would never judge me. You've seen me. I've said she's like, she is also a single mother of 4. She is a widow. And her husband passed about 6 months before my divorce happened. 2 very different experiences. We always say same shitty river, but very different boats.
Yeah,
like, because life is completely turned upside down.
That's what you need, friends that get you.
Yes.
That's the other big thing.
Yes.
Friends who know exactly who you are and they love you anyway.
Yes.
And you just connect and get each other.
Yes, truly. And like, we use Snapchat because she's the only person I snap. I like, don't even really know how to use it. She's better at it than I am. But it's because we didn't want our kids like rifling through our texts to be like,
smart.
Today it feels like I can't do this today. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, those kind of like where you only like, they're your yucky thoughts that you're like, they need a safe place to land. And she's one of my landing spots, but she is definitely charged with, because I've said every kind of thought to her and same. Yeah. And I'm like, you're in charge of clearing my notes.
Yeah.
Run. I need you to be a full sprint up the hill from Marymount. You can deal with my body later. Just take care of the notes.
I have several good friends who are like landing spots. I love that term. Yeah. It's someone you can tell anything to and they're not going to judge you.
Yes.
And then they're going to help you figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, I'm the same. It's a small few. It's 3.
Mm-hmm. Same. I have 3.
Oh, cheers to that.
Cheers to those 3 friends.
Truly.
Yeah.
What a gift. And it is also such an honor to be the landing spot back for them. No judgment.
Absolutely.
You can say whatever, like, what is the funny meme that's going around that it's like someone like storming into the courtroom and it's like me defending my best friend and having no idea what she just did. But I'm like, just fully all committed. Yeah. I was like, I object. What are we objecting to? Like, ride or die, right? But I think that's awesome. So you're walking your dogs, you're taking, first of all, I gasped at 20-minute naps because I only know how to nap for 4 hours. So I'm like, wow, you can do that. It's a skill that I don't have and I'm just jealous.
Yeah. I can just pass out.
Oh,
and it's great.
I bet. Oh my gosh. And then what kind of like, are you able to turn it off on the weekends? Are you?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Another thing I do for fun is, so I was a theater major undergrad, theater and journalism, and I miss, I've never really done theater. Like I'm not an actress, but I miss that creative side.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So a couple years ago, I started doing improv.
Oh, cool.
Which is not stand-up. I think some people think improv and they think you're doing stand-up comedy, and it's not that. But it's really about just getting on stage with someone and seeing what unfolds, and you make it up as you go.
Yeah.
And it's just a little group of weirdos.
I love it.
I totally connect with, and we get each other. And we have I was there last night. It's every Tuesday night, and we alternate libraries. But what I love about improv is like the key tenet of improv is yes and ... And so you don't negate things.
Yeah.
You don't, if someone says like, you're the saddest school teacher I've ever seen. You don't go, I'm not a school teacher. I don't know what you're talking about. You go, yes, I am sad. And here's why. And you just go with it. And so I think that kind of gives me permission in my day-to-day life to just kind of go with things and not get hung up on stuff and not negate things and rule things out, but just see where things unfold and where they lead you.
God, that is amazing. And a life lesson. Also, which library I'm coming.
Come.
I totally want to come.
Fun.
It sounds so fun.
It is really fun.
Oh my gosh.
It's very freeing, and it lets me use like a creative side of my brain that I don't always get to use.
I totally get that. When you have that creative side of your brain, it just never goes away.
Yeah.
I love that you do that. That is so cool.
And we do live shows every now and then, which used to freak me out, but they don't anymore. They're just fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, does that, I know that you speak on large stages and all the things, like, does that kind of help prepare you for that? Or did you? Yeah.
100%.
Because I mean,
I say that all the time. That's the one thing a theater degree was good for me, was making me comfortable in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
Because I use that all the time.
Truly. Okay. For those who speak, like, what are some of the tricks you have to be comfortable in front of people? Are you picturing people in your underwear?
No, I don't do that.
I don't either.
Really, it's really kind of knowing what message you're bringing. Like you mapped out this talk before we talked.
Yes, I did.
We know where we're headed. Yep. So it's knowing what you want to share, but then also being really aware of your energy and what presence you're bringing. Because people can tell if you're nervous or they, you know, if you don't want to be there. But if you come in and you just kind of open yourself up and you set that intention of bringing the positive energy, sharing what you want to share, every time it's a different experience and it's always amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that like totally puts people in their own power to be able to be like, I am responsible for setting the energy.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, I'm giving a conversation around something I'm so passionate about and there's such purpose. So like, that is what is going to ooze out of me.
And it begins even before you start talking.
Yeah.
It begins when you walk to the stage or just your body language and your presence. Like there's so many, it's kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
You know,
it is like a psychological study.
Yeah.
Truly. That's very cool. Cause I mean, I think it's, I could talk to a wall. I don't have a problem with it at all. But I do, when I give speeches and things like that, like I do have moments of like, and I've also had to give a bazillion presentations for work. So I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
But I kind of got knocked off my game a little bit when everything went virtual and I like started consulting and was on the road all the time. I'm like, I can talk to a computer screen, no problem. Even though there's 400 people on this call. I'm like, you don't scare me. You're 2-dimensional.
And I think part of it too, and that's why I love this chat we're having and kind of your whole format, is it's so much better when it's not scripted. Like nobody wants to hear you read anything like verbatim.
Totally.
It's just, you know, you kind of have your general bullet points and then you just bring your authentic self and deliver it as your authentic self. And that's enough. And that's great.
And I think that is truly the art of storytelling. It's like, you know, the energy that you want to bring. Now I'm recapping what you said and pretending it's my idea. And where, but it like, and I think about this because I really like my creativity really is storytelling. Like I can't act or sing or draw, but like, I really, truly love to tell stories.
And you're great at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But like, and if I were to have to define how do you tell stories, or write a story or whatever that may be, it really is around sort of the energy and the intention and knowing the broader picture and then just kind of letting her rip.
Yeah. And the response you're hoping for from whatever audience you're in. I listened to The Moth. Do you ever listen to that?
No.
The Moth Radio Hour. It's a podcast and there's live. I just heard one live last year, but it's all storytelling.
Cool.
And it's everyday people who get up on stage and tell a story.
Yeah.
Like a true, authentic story. And they're all over the place. But I learned so much and how they frame them and what they focus on and what their intonation is and how you pause. And it's just, I love storytelling. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And I'm with you on like, I love to study. Just like, I think it was really like this, what I find so fascinating is the study of like human behavior and like human connection and that kind of thing. So like, I would be so geeking out on the same moments, be like, they paused and I know why they paused. Right. That was a good pause.
Yeah. Like, I was actually listening to it on the way here.
Yeah. That's
and it is all about connection, you know?
Oh, you're going to need to send me the link to that because that sounds really fascinating.
It's awesome.
But I don't know. I'm taking away so many important things from this conversation and like how to show up as your true self, how that sets you up for leadership, how that impacts community, how to take care of families and how you still can take care of yourself. Not to mention you have 3 kids. Like
I do.
And 2 dogs that demand to be walked at 6 a.m.
5 cats in my house right now.
Do you really?
Yes. Because I had 3 cats and my daughter brought 2 home. So we have a lot of beings in our house right now.
You know, I get you. I got a lot of beings in this house too. Yeah. On the downstairs level, I have the 2 dogs, but the kids have the twins have hermit crabs and my oldest has a leopard gecko. And I drew
been there, done that on all of the animals.
Yes. Yeah. And I grew up on a horse farm, so I'm like kind of used to 4-legged chaos. Like, I don't know. Yeah. But
we've had the leopard gecko. We've had a bearded dragon.
Oh, I said no to the bearded dragon. Did you feed it live crickets?
Oh, I did. I'm so crazy. I was growing the special roaches that you feed them.
Yes, you grow. How do you grow?
I did. Not anymore. I'm not proud of this, but
thank you for being honest.
Things for your kids.
You do.
You're like,
you do.
I'm sick of going to PetSmart every 2 days.
Yes.
I'm going to grow these things. But like, yeah, all the pets, hamsters, gerbils, you name it. Snake. We've had everything.
Oh, I drew the line at snakes.
I had a snake growing up.
Yeah, I know some people
weirdness.
are told. Some people are. I love weirdos are my favorite. I'm like,
good. That's why we get along.
Yes, I'm a self-declared total weirdo. Like I'm like weirdos are my people. Oh, this is just so fun. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what else can you tell us about the Have we hit everything? I want to just pause for a second and make sure that we've hit, because I know truly my mission here is to serve and help build understanding of the house and get people to be connected to the house like I am so deeply feeling now. Is there anything else that we haven't covered before I ask you a million more questions?
I would just invite people to look at our website, which is rmhcincinnati.org.
Okay. We'll link that in the show notes.
House. Yeah. If you want to take a tour, we'd be happy to take you on a tour. Anyone, not just you, but anyone who wants to see it. And think about what you love to do and how you can connect that to the house. We are always open up to ideas. We have a fairly new donor who her thing is she like goes and buys a bunch of treats at the Bonbonnery and drops them off for our families. And we just had the gala and she did all the flowers for the gala. Like she doesn't necessarily want to be at the house volunteering. She just wants to do all these things to support it, which is amazing. So there's so many ways you can plug in, and we are always welcome to new ideas. And, we have people who bring therapy pets and who do performances. Like we have, just people who share their talents in so many ways. So we would welcome new ideas and people coming to see us. And
I think about that night where I was in the kitchen and I saw the magician, and like, the kids' eyes were just like as wide and bright as can be. And like when people come and share these talents, I feel like, similar to listening to these podcasts and we're like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. I might want to explore that. It like opens, makes these kids think about other things that aren't just how sick they feel.
Right. And it's a bright spot in their day.
Totally
like
bright spot.
A lot of our families either, don't have a car here or they can't afford to go see a show at the Aronoff.
Right.
So if a performer comes to the house and they can just watch a little performance there, it's such a great way to just have a little respite in their day.
God, bright spot in the day. Yeah. That's so good too.
Maybe we all need that.
Gosh, I feel like I can like tattoo my whole body with like great little quote moments. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And I think, when we think about the massive amount of money that you raise and the number of volunteers that you have through the house, I love that you highlight, and that I want everyone to think about this for every aspect of their life. Is like, what do you love to do? And how can you bring that into your community? That's truly like the best way to get involved in any type of community. It doesn't have to be dollars.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel so much better. Sometimes it's hard to get out of the house and commit to something new. Yeah. Because we're all in our comfort zones. But when you find that, and that thing that you really enjoy, and it's different things for different people. Like I have a friend who goes to a shelter and walks dogs. And that's awesome.
It is
awesome. These dogs need a walk. Yeah, they're in the shelter. All these dogs are barking. It's chaos.
Yes.
And they get that little respite because she's willing to go there and walk them for a couple hours. So it's, you can do anything.
You can literally do anything. Yeah. And that like checks her, exercise and voice memo bucket. But it's true. And I think to think like, so less regimented and so less sort of like results focused, and to just figure out what makes your heart glow.
Yes.
And
I was just thinking that, what makes your heart sing?
And to extend that, voice out into the community is truly the secret sauce for how to be a good community member.
Yes.
And to your point with your example with your friend with the yellow, that starts with, the little tiny moments, which is a really big deal. Also, that's like a really beautiful example of friendship and like active listening and just a big bleeding, wonderful heart. But, it starts in those little moments of friendship or like, sitting. And for me, I think about like, how can I show up for my kids? And there's 4 of them. How can I make sure that even just for like, the 10 minutes at bedtime that I am like, or just even throughout the day. Like I asked my daughter, she's the only girl and she's the middle child. And if I stop and I can say to her, what do you need? She's like, oh yeah, what do I need? Like, I don't know. Anyway, just to invite the question for others, for friends, for how you can commit to community and ask those questions of yourself, to your point of like, what makes my heart sing?
Yeah. Yeah. God, it's so I think so much is about helping people feel seen and heard and appreciated, whether it's friends or kids or yourself. What do you need yourself? Ask yourself those questions.
Yes. That is
Some people won't ask them for you. So ask yourself.
And I think that is a great transition into, female empowerment. And I know personally, I had no idea how to ask myself for what I needed. I remember one of my first therapy calls after my divorce. She was like, okay, let's talk about wants and needs. And I was like, huh? And then she was like, I literally want you to think of something that you want or something that you need, and you're going to have to ask me for it. And we were over Zoom, and I literally started sweating, and I was like, I can't do this. I hung up on her. And she was like, okay, grab your journal, because I'm a big journaler. And she was like, grab your journal, work on it. I was like, seriously, I got to go. Like, I'm so sweaty. I don't know how to do this. I'm so uncomfortable. She was like, go take a minute. She was like, we'll regroup next week. But that's how hard
it was. Do you know how to do it now?
I do.
Are you more comfortable with it?
Yes, I am.
So that's great.
I still get sweaty, but you can do it. I can. And that is a life skill.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like, and I honestly, I don't know if I haven't thought about it as much for men, and I need to start thinking about it as much for men because I'm raising 3 boys as well. But I know women certainly weren't conditioned to ask for what we want or need. And so much of our sort of worth had been around service of others and sort of that perfect notion. But I think you make such a great point of just like checking in with yourself and being like, what do I need? Do I need the 20-minute nap? Do I need a job that connects to what the blood that runs through my body of service? Like, I think big and small.
The other thing I think of when I think of women, and myself included, is the negative self-talk that we do to ourselves.
Yes.
For no good reason.
Where is that coming from?
Beat ourselves up nonstop all day with little things and big ones. I still do it all the time.
Yes.
Yes.
I got the greatest piece of advice about that from a therapist that said, if you really think about it, like you hear the voice and it sounds like you, but it's not you. And you can guess whose voice it is. And that person or that conditioning or that experience no longer gets to live inside you rent free.
I love that. This makes me think of this bit of advice that I give to friends and staff. In fact, just this past week, I was talking to one of my teammates about it. But it's this thing. I don't know if I made it up. I didn't hear it somewhere else. So maybe I made it up, but it's probably out there somewhere. But I call it transfer the knot.
Ooh.
And so when you have this, like, when you get that knot in your stomach,
I sure do.
This hard feeling in the pit of your stomach, something you're sick about and it's bothering you.
Yeah.
To think about why that knot is there and who put it there, because it probably wasn't you.
No.
It probably came from someone else who said something nasty to you or did something you didn't appreciate or isn't talking to you for whatever. There's some reason that knot is there, and to think about who put it there and have the courage to give it back to them and tell them, like, I don't say, oh, this is a knot and I'm giving it back. No, I just say like, hey, there's something I would love to talk to you about. Like there's something that's not sitting right with me. Can we, find a time to sit and talk about it?
Yes. Ooh. And
then the knot goes away.
It untangles.
Yes.
Yes.
And you don't have to deal with it anymore. You don't have to have that sick, awful feeling that something's wrong or off inside you.
I love that.
And so a lot of it, so much, we were talking about lessons learned. So much of my life, I was conflict averse.
Yes.
I did not like having conflict at all.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way, probably when I got divorced, somewhere around that time, I realized like conflict is good.
Totally.
Conflict is healthy. We have to do this, or otherwise we just sit with all this stuff and it is unresolved and it's toxic.
Yeah. And it stores.
Yeah. Yeah. So just being able to have the courage to talk about things that are bothering you, I think goes such a long way.
I love that notion of transfer the knot. And even if it is a knot that has been, living rent free for way too long and you don't have the opportunity to transfer it back, you can sort of metaphorically imagine just being like, you know what, going back to what you were saying at the top of the show around why is someone behaving that way in terms of like the trauma response, and like, yes, I can give that knot back to, I don't know, the girl who said something super mean to me in middle school.
Right.
Right. I don't know.
Look her up on Facebook.
Right. I was like, hey girl, I got a knot for you. And she's probably like the nicest person now, who's just having a hormonal day, but regardless, I'm not well. But I think the notion of like being able to give that back to someone almost with a sense of empathy to be like,
yes,
why was that given to me?
Grace and empathy.
Like
you're not a jerk because you gave this to me, but we're both going to learn something in working it out.
And it's not yours to carry.
Yeah.
No matter what. There was a great podcast that I was listening to. Dr. Romney, do you ever listen to her around narcissism? And
I need that one.
Fascinating. Oh, I will send that to you. We're going to share so many links. But she was saying that, there's so much empathy you can have for narcissistic people to behave the way that they do because so many things have happened to them, but their behavior is not okay. So like that knot could be yours. It's not yours to carry. It may have been given to you. Someone might have bullied my son because something awful is going on at their home, but their behavior is still not okay.
Right.
You can have, it's like the yes and.
Yes, exactly.
We're having so many full circle moments.
So good.
Look at us
all day.
Yeah, we should. Oh my God, this is so fun. I need more tea. Dogs, bring me some tea. We can just hang here till my middle schoolers come home.
I've listened to this podcast, Andrew Huberman, and some of his episodes are 4 hours long.
Are they?
And he's like, well, it's just the time it takes to talk about this subject. I feel like that's where we are. We could talk for 4 hours.
We could
still not solve all the problems.
I'm going to start coming with you to work and just being like, can we keep talking?
Yes,
I just want to come sit and hang out and just like be a part of this magic. But my podcast producer says that to me all the time. She was like, just don't feel like you're on a time constraint. People will listen to whatever, if the topic serves them,
right.
Just remember that what you're saying and all the time you're taking is in service of others. Yeah. It does feel so good. And plus, when you got the gift of gab, you got the gift of gab. We can't help ourselves.
I love this.
I recently turned my basement into a home gym, literally all from Amazon, and I could not be more obsessed. I got an elliptical that I actually love, a reformer that I'm obsessed with and is saving my life. And all my decor that makes it not just a home gym, but feel bougie. I mean, we're talking wallpaper accent walls and a chandelier without breaking the bank. Now I have space where me and my 4 kids can all work out together. I love Amazon because I furnish or style my home in a way that feels like such a reflection of me without having to break the bank. If you're like me and get a little bit sad, okay, maybe more than a little bit sad, when there's no package at the door, then you are my people. Also, I think we need help. But until then, visit amazon.com/shop/write your own story. Or even better, click the link in the show notes and shop all my favorite finds in fashion, beauty, home decor, organization, and more. From my cart to yours, these are the treasures you don't want to miss. Okay, so more about pumping women up. I love the notion of, I'm taking notes, so that's why I'm recapping in my head, voice dictating this into my notes, that, the negative thoughts and that unwinding those and realizing that those are not yours to hold and to be able to give those back. What other things do you wish women talked more openly about?
So 2 things. One thing that jumped to mind is, well, let me answer that question first.
Yeah.
Because you said, what should we talk about more?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to another podcast.
I love it.
Because I love this one and I love the tagline. So I've listened to this podcast called Death, Sex, and Money.
What? No way.
And her tagline is that it's a show about the things people think about a lot and need to talk about more.
Wow. I freaking love that.
And that to me sums it up. Like we don't talk enough about death. We don't talk enough about sex. And we don't talk enough about money with our girlfriends.
Yes.
Because girlfriends will talk about anything. We talk about our kids all the time, our struggles, our work, menopause, whatever. Like we're here for it. We can talk about anything.
Yeah.
But sometimes we shy away from those 3 things. I have a really good friend, one of my 3 besties.
Right. The note deleters.
Yes. Who went through like a horrible bout with leukemia and she had a bone marrow transplant and she used to run the Lexington Ronald McDonald House. And I just adore her. She's one of my favorite people in the world. But when she was really, really sick, she sent me a long text that was her instructions for a funeral if needed.
Wow.
She's like, I don't think my husband can deal with this right now. Can you just hang on to this in case, because these are my wishes. And she's, she's like us. She thinks through things. What can I control?
Yep.
What can I like put down in writing so that I know that it's going to happen? I can quit worrying about it.
Yep.
And first of all, it was such a gift to get that.
Yes.
It was like, she trusts me with this most intimate thing. But then I think about like how hard it is for us to talk about death and our wishes around that. And I mentioned, I have this good friend who was one of my professors at Miami who, I helped care for in his later years. And one of the best gifts he gave me was all of his intentions for his living will and his, like everything he wanted. He's like so clear about his wishes that it was easy for me to implement them because I knew exactly what he wanted. And so I was just following his direction. And then I mentioned my stepdad died about a year ago.
Yeah.
It was so hard for him. Like his will was way outdated and he couldn't talk about what he wanted because it was too hard to think about.
Yeah.
And that's how most of us are. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
But when you do, it's such a gift to your loved ones that they know what your wishes are. And, we're young and healthy and hopefully we're going to live a long, long time. But just to be able to talk about death more and normalize it is, I think, really important.
And I think there's so many aspects to that. It memorializes, like when we think about intention and like, when my grandfather passed, we had some of the most amazing conversations as I was visiting him in hospice. And it was truly a transfer of knowledge. And I was 16.
Wow.
But those are conversations that are so formative and like, it wasn't scary because it wasn't like I'm dying, I'm going to tell you all these things. It was just this imparting of wisdom that I've taken with me always. And like, also, do you feel that it takes the burden off of you a bit as a friend to like the pressure of carrying out someone's wishes and figuring out how they would want to be memorialized? Gosh, even to be cremated or not. Like I remember thinking about my best friend when she had to, take care of everything for her husband once he passed. Like it does relieve sort of the stress to know
100%.
You just love this person who's passed and you just want to carry out their wishes. And it's a big, burden is definitely not the right word. And I don't know why it's the only word I can come up with at the moment.
I think it's easier to carry out other people's wishes when you know what they are than to try to figure them out yourself. I think that's more stressful. Like what would this person have wanted? I don't know. Like,
truly.
Yes.
1,000 yeses. That I've never had someone come close to answering it that way, but I'm obsessed. Death, sex, and money. And it's true. All
now
of them.
Listen to that podcast.
Yes, I will. I'm so busy right now. But like those truly.
And then people shy away from talking about sex.
Yes.
And from money. And that's just part of everyone's everyday life.
Right. Big parts of everyone's everyday life. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think about my 3 that I'm like, no, we talk about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not something you'd maybe talk about at work.
No.
Or with, certain people, but with your best girlfriends.
Right.
And even with your kids when it's appropriate and right in different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because those are things that you don't want, especially your kids or even your girlfriends. We're all trying to figure all of this out together. Yeah. How do you save? Like, I mean, everything from sex and money and death, like all of us, there is no playbook for any of those things. Yeah. And to be able to have those open conversations to be like, I don't know, did this happen? Like, you're like, oh.
It's funny. You were talking about your grandpa and the like wisdom he imparted. And it must've been so comforting to him too, to know he could share all that with you. But you just made me think of my friend Hugh when he died. So my son is named Hugh after him.
Wow.
Yeah. And he, in his later years, felt like he needed to impart knowledge to my son, which is great. But he had never had kids of his own and didn't really know where the boundaries were and what was appropriate and what wasn't. And you just reminded me at one point, he sat my son down and my son was like 8. Oh my God, he's like, listen, I got to tell you something. With women, like no means no. You don't touch a woman unless she's okay with it. He just went on this he launched this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God, he's 8. He has no idea what you're talking about.
So he's on the playground and goes to like tag some girl and she's like, stop it. And he's like, okay, no means no. That's amazing.
And it was I love that it was so important to him that he wanted to share that with my son. But it was just hilarious at that age. He's like, what are you talking about?
Wait, what? Oh my God, that's unbelievable. Yeah. Okay. What other things can we talk about? Okay. So we talked about what do we think women, what do we wish women talked more about?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, I think we've talked about some of the twists and turns in terms of your dad passing, but and this is kind of a twofold question too. So let's see if either of us can remember both parts. Cause we both get so excited, but is like, what twists and turns have life given you and how has that shaped you? And I often feel like connected to that is what wisdom does that allow you then to be able to impart on others so they don't have to figure it out the hard way. That was like a 75-word question. Good luck.
A couple of things I had already mentioned, like my dad dying when I was young had a huge impact on my life. The Peace Corps and, going so far away and then getting sick and coming home and having to regroup. Like I lived in my parents' basement for a while and tried to figure out a career. And those were definitely formative experiences. I've been through 2 divorces. I learned so much from both of those.
They're life-changing.
I mean, that's a hard way to learn things, but it sticks with you.
Yeah.
And I think it shapes how you look at relationships going forward.
Yes.
The other thing that keeps coming to mind is, and this kind of ties into your last question about women and what we wish we had known or what we've learned along the way and figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I've learned so much about being decisive and not second guessing myself when I need to make a decision.
I feel like everyone just turned the volume up. Keep going.
So, and I mean, this is definitely in the context of divorce too, but also like it applies to work. Like I think of, you know, I mentioned we have such an amazing team, but every once in a while you have someone who's not in the right place and doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
And for a while I would have so much empathy for that person and their family and their life that I would like try everything to make it work until it just didn't. And we had to let that person go. But you know, you hear that like people never say like, oh, I wish I had waited longer to fire that person.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I wish I drug that out a little bit longer and just, you know.
And that also goes for relationships.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if we just face what's going on and own it, whether it's work or family life or personal life, and make the decisions that are right for ourselves that we need to make. Yeah. And that's so hard to do.
It is.
And there, you know, there's that little voice, and this time maybe it is your own saying, this is what you need. You need to take care of yourself. You know, this is the right thing to do, but it's so hard to do it. And you think of all the ways to talk yourself out of it.
I love that though.
But it's really honoring who you are by trusting ourselves to make decisions when we need to make them.
I think women's intuition is unparalleled, and it is like, you know, all the voices and the knots and the everything just sit on top of it and damper it. But like, I do think that listening to that and honoring that and making the decision. I had another woman on the show around, and her notion on decision making was like, just make the best decision you can make and then make the best of that.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that takes so much pressure off.
It's and all then just making the next best decision. Just one at a time.
One at a time. Yeah. And I've always felt like, you know, that in those moments where I feel like something is so heavy and this is like, how am I going to do this? But I know I need to do this, etc. Like I always go back to this. I made myself a mug that even says this because that's how cheesy and weird I am. But it's like, you haven't been buried, you've been planted. So like those moments where you're like,
love that.
I say this to myself on the regular, but I'm you know, when something feels so heavy or big or overwhelming, or you feel so alone on something, it's like, I know I'm going to come out the other side so much better after going through this. So like, just don't lose sight of the fact that you're planted, you're not buried.
Love that. You know what saying I love right now, and I don't have it on a mug, but it is on.
I'll make you a mug.
It is on this print on my wall in my office. Some people might know the book Going on a Bear Hunt.
Yes. Read it a bajillion times.
Yeah. And it's like, can't go over it, can't go under it. Guess we'll have to go through it.
Yes.
And so that's on my wall at work. But the short version of that is the only way forward is through.
It's so true.
And sometimes you just have to go through it and get it like just brace yourself and get it done.
Yes.
There's no other way.
And then, you know, to your point that you've made earlier in the show is that even when you're going through it, you're still going to find joy. You're still going to find hope. You can't lose sight or like hope for that. Yeah. You'll get through it.
And it's all part of us becoming who we're meant to be. Like you don't get to who you are if you have a super easy life and you never have any problems to deal with.
Right. I was like, I'll BS.
Right. Oh, so it's hard in the moment, but in the end, it's totally worth it.
And we are like, those are the moments where I'm like, yes, we can do hard things. Yeah. Let's put down martyrdom. Is that the word? Did I make up a word?
No, that's the word.
Okay. Cause I'm really good at making up words. But put that down.
Yeah.
Let's not have that be the hard thing. Let's like have the hard thing being like walking through the thick of it, like swishy, swashy, swishy, swash. Remember from the book? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
When you go through the tall grass.
Yes, exactly.
Through the creek or the river. Yeah.
Squitch, squelp, squitch, squelp. Yep. But like, let those be the hard moments.
Yes.
Let the moments where, you know, unfortunately you have to let certain talent go because it's not the right fit. Wrong shoe, wrong foot. Right. Or a relationship go. Wrong shoe, wrong foot.
And our kids are learning from us every step of the way. They're watching us do this, even if they don't talk about it. They're learning that you have to go through it. And you have to deal with this stuff.
Yes. And that you still can like truly enjoy yourself in the ride. Maybe not all moment, maybe not every moment. I have two wildly empathetic, super sensitive kids, and they will come up to me, both of them individually, and they'll be like, "Are you stressed?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And then I'll come back 20 minutes later, like, "I'm so stressed. I'm so sorry. I didn't even know it. But now that you mention it, I am," because I don't ever want them to not trust their intuition.
Exactly.
So I'm like,
just acknowledge it.
Yeah. I was like, I am so stressed, but to be clear, I've got this, but you were right. You're so good at this. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me to check in with myself to be like, whoa, maybe I do need to go, you know, for a walk or to sit. And honestly, like I love to draw, like I love to color. So like I have coloring sheets and I'll draw and doodle and all that stuff. I'm like, you know, if anyone wants to listen to music and draw with me, I was like, I got to screw my head on straight for a second. I don't know. But to your point of they're always watching and man, they give us also so many lessons.
I know.
That I didn't even think I knew.
You know what I'm enjoying figuring out now is learning the art of apology. Like it's so hard to do. And for so long we avoid it. But like just in that example you just gave, when you go up to your kids and you're like, "I'm sorry, I actually am stressed. You're right." Like it can be that simple.
Truly.
But just to acknowledge something that, you know, it's the whole transfer the knot idea. If you're feeling weird about something and you acknowledge it, if you have any role in it, just apologize for it.
Right. Just
own it. Helps you both move forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truly. It doesn't come with punishment.
No.
Truly. It's like the greatest gift to be like, "Oh yeah, my bad.
I screwed that up.
I'm so sorry." Yes. Yes. That is, I feel like one thing that we're really getting down pat in this house. I get a lot of things wrong around here. Don't get me wrong, but like is to be like, just to own it and be like, "My bad."
Yeah.
And then here's what I'm going to try and do better. And that's it. It's literally a 2-minute conversation. Right. And then you have moments with, you know, girlfriends or relationships or whatever, where like you are at work and you try and express a need and it's like this long drawn out thing. You're like, really? Because at home it took me 2 minutes. Right. Like, can't we just all be easier about this? But truly. And I think that goes back to your notion of being afraid of conflict. And like, good for you to go from being afraid of conflict to being able to like transfer knots and to own things and apologize and sit it
was self-preservation, honestly, because it just doesn't feel good to sit in it. So then you got to figure like, how you get through it, and the path forward.
And that is, as you said, truly the connection to your authentic self.
Yes.
I feel like there's been so many nuggets of wisdom, like enough to fill this room. So I'm like, what wisdom can you impart? But I'm like, we already did.
We all these tangents. And somehow all came together. Yeah.
So speaking of the next generation, what are your hopes for the next generation?
Gosh, you know, I hope that we can, I think about women too, especially like, cause I think about women like bosses, girlfriends, people who have helped me along the way, who have, that whole notion of, lift as you climb, and people who've lifted me and how that felt. And so I hope we can all keep doing that for each other.
Oh, that's good.
But even beyond that, like, oh my gosh, we have to start taking care of this planet before it like dissolves. And we have to like detach from our phones. And I'm as guilty as anyone, but it scares me to death when I see how much time my kids spend on their phones, and me too. Like, I check my phone all the time.
I know, when the screen time comes up,
dependent on it, and it just takes away from being present and being engaged. And I'm as guilty as anyone in the world on that. But I don't know. I don't know what that looks like in the world and when that'll ever happen. There's probably just more things coming up that we'll get attached to, just like our phones,
right?
You know, but I don't know. I just, I guess my hope is that we can all just keep taking care of each other. There's this beautiful quote I love. Ram Dass. Have you heard of him? He's like some spiritual guru type thing. But he had this quote, "We are all just walking each other home." Oh. And I love that so much, because it's like, gosh, that's I think the secret to a beautiful life is you help walk each other home.
God.
Like, we need that from other people, and we need to do that for other people.
Yes. That is so, wow. I'm going to literally think about that all day long. Because you think about the people in your life and like those who you are standing next to walking home. And then like, you can't, I kind of immediately went to like, okay, who are people in my life that like, you know, that sort of like transferred a nut or whatever it may be. That's all part of my path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your grandfather's sharing that. Like, you were helping him walk home by letting him share all that with you in the process.
Feels so good. Thank you for that. Yeah. It was truly, and it's like, what high schooler wants to drive to Drake Center, you know, but I just like every day. And, you know, it's not like he was a big businessman, busy guy. It's not like he was like integral in raising me or like we, you know, I mean, he was always like, I can still picture him every time we opened the door to his apartment and he was just like arms crossed, like this cute little shrug, like, and, you know, he just like had such a presence. I also, because I grew up on a horse farm, we're racehorse people. So I spent a lot of my childhood at the track, which is super normal. But I just remember holding onto his finger, you know, so like I have little moments like that, but it's not like, it's like we were so intertwined, like some grandparents and generations are, but like it was so important to me to go visit him like regularly as he was in.
And you know what that was? That was what we were talking about making the next right decision. Like, you didn't want to go, but you know, it's the right decision. So you went.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I'm glad you did.
No regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is always like, from when I go to decision making, that's where I like, and I really can't decide, I'll check in and I'll be like, you know, there's going to be regret somewhere. So what's the no regret path?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Oh my gosh. This has been so fun.
I know.
We're going to have to do a part 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't either. Okay. So tell us, okay, let's, okay, fine.
I know we need to wrap it up.
I know. No, I don't want to. But so back to our mission of really trying to inspire people to be community members. How can we support you in all the amazing things that you're up to? And like, I know we need to go to the website and that there are volunteer opportunities, but like, let's just recap that and hit that one more time.
Yeah. So I think it's each of us having kind of a personal, monologue's not the word, just a discussion with ourselves, just checking in with ourselves.
Yeah.
What could I do that would make my heart sing, make me feel happy and fulfilled in the world? And maybe people already have that, and that's awesome if they've already found it.
Yeah.
But if they're looking for it, there's so many ways to find it at Ronald McDonald House.
Yes.
So many ways to plug in, and, you know, not a big time commitment and kind of something for everyone, but just finding a way to help make life easier for other people is really what it comes down to. And it gives you such a good feeling for being a part of that. So yeah, check our website, call us, email us, check in with our team. Like, we love meeting people. We love sharing the magic of the house and what we do with anyone.
Oh, it's so, so good. Makes me just like want to follow you right back to work and be like, what are we doing? What should we do next? Oh, am I still here?
It's like your friend Hillary going to Children's every day.
Yes.
Like, I just drop my kids off when I go to Children's. You can just come with me.
Right.
You'll be right across the street from her, and then we can have lunch.
Oh my God. This would be a power dynamic. This is an actual, this is an extension of your already dream team. We're doing it. Okay. Well, now I'm literally newly charged. I cannot thank you enough for the work that you do in this city and for those families. Having been a family in a situation like that, and not having experienced the house, but knowing what you need in terms of care and emotional support and literal support. And just, I have so much empathy for those families. And I truly, like I said, it was in my backyard and I had family to support. I had the easiest version of hard. Yeah, truly. And so the amount of time and energy and thought, and I know it is a natural extension of you, but like, you are doing the good work and you are making such an impact and you think about those families and the impact that those families made. It all has a root. So
thank you. Yes. It's really an honor to do it and enjoy, and a privilege every single day.
I can totally tell.
And thank you for shining light on the house for this conversation today. I've loved every minute of it.
Also an absolute honor and pleasure. Oh, you guys. Okay. So everyone go have the monologue with yourself. Truly. And
dictate it into your phone.
Dictate it into your phone. Yes. Yeah. Be like, what is a great extension of what brings you joy that could be of service, big or small, in this community? And truly if you have the capacity in any way, shape, or form, please reach out to the house and make a difference. You are literally changing these people's lives and truly the outcomes of these children, which is our future generations of doctors and farmers and environmentalists and teachers. And so like, let's keep these kids going.
So true.
This has been an absolute pleasure. You guys, please share this episode far and wide, because there are Ronald McDonald houses all over the world. So no matter where you are listening, you can get involved in any way, shape, or form. Jennifer, I'm sad this is over.
I know, me
I'm
too.
emotional.
It's okay. We're BFFs now. We'll stay in touch.
We're going to definitely stay in touch. All right, you guys. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownsstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.